Evolution is a theme that I greatly enjoy. I haven't really come across it too many times in board games. The most recent one was a game called Dominant Species, and although it had the evolution theme to it, it really didn't give me that feel. Plus, it was a 5 to 6 hour game with the full player complement. So that's well beyond my comfortable zone for board games. Now recently, a publisher called Right Games asked if I'd be interested in reviewing some games for them, and one of them was this one, Evolution: The Origin of Species. It's a 2 to 4 player game, and it says it plays in 30 to 60 minutes, which is well within my gaming sweet spot. Now, although I was excited about this game, there was one thing at the forefront of my mind, and that was this had better not be some throwaway filler, because that will completely color my final verdict on this game, which we'll see at the end of the demo. The goal for Evolution is to develop creatures that will survive until the end of the game, at which point you can score them. Here's an example of 4 different creatures with various different traits. This one has the ability to swim and can also eat other creatures. This one has no special traits attributed to it. This one can run and can store food for later. And this one can pretend to be other creatures to hide and not get eaten. When players start the game, they're given a hand of cards, which they use to develop their creatures with various different traits. An example would be this poisonous card, which makes any animal that eats it die, so it's a defense mechanism. Most cards actually have 2 traits on them, so they can be played this way, or turned upside down for the other trait. So in this case, it would be to give it carnivorous, which actually allows you to eat other animals. During the first phase, the development phase, players take turns going back and forth playing these cards to play animals to the table. The way these cards work is they can either be played as traits, or you can flip them upside down to actually play a base creature. In later turns, you then use these traits to enhance them. So I could play this card to give this creature a Burrowing protective trait. Players go back and forth developing their creatures until they've played as many cards as they want and have passed. At this point, we determine how much food is available to feed these guys. In a 2-player game, what you do is you roll 1 die and add 2 to that number. So I'll add 4 red and 2 extra. So that's the amount of food that will feed these guys in this round. What happens is the start player, let's say it's this guy, he gets to choose to do an action. He can either take a food from the pool, or he can use one of his traits if they work. So this guy, he'll just simply take 1 food. A normal creature only requires 1 food in order to be fed. Other creatures, such as this guy with the carnivorous, requires 1 for the base food, but also an extra food for every card with a +1. So this guy needs 2 food to live. The neat thing about the carnivorous trait is it can be used to eat other creatures, even your own if you wanted to. And what you do is, instead of taking food, I could say, well, I want to go and attack this creature. Because he has no natural defenses, he dies. So I just remove his card from play, and he gets 2 food, 2 special extra food for doing that. And in this example, he's now fed for the round. Another useful ability is this creature's fat tissue. Now normally during the feeding phase, players go back and forth taking food for their creatures until they're fully fed. This guy can't eat anymore because he's fully fed. However, this guy, even though he's fully fed, he has fat tissue, which allows him to take one of these reds and exchange it for a fat tissue, which can be stored for future turns to help it survive. Once everyone's been fed, or the food pool has been emptied, and everyone's used any of their traits that they want to, this round's over. Now all you do is you see if anyone isn't fed. If they aren't, you remove them from the game, and at that point you draw new cards. And the way it works is players get 1 card plus each animal that they have. So he gets 1 extra, and this guy would get 1 card and 2 extra for those animals. And that, in essence, is how the game is played. At this point, players do the development phase again, they get fed, see who dies, get new cards, and go around and around and around. And the game ends when this deck empties out. Now, although that makes this game sound really simplistic, the complexity lies in all these different trait cards. There's cards that can make your animals waterborne, which means they can't be attacked by land creatures, or they can't even attack
land creatures themselves. There's high body weight, which makes it so that you can only be attacked by other high body weight creatures, or you can even apply parasites to your opponents to make them require more food to survive future rounds. Also, food can become rather scarce during this game, and one way to combat that is these pairwise cards. This card allows you to pair two animals so that they can use special abilities. In this one, if one of these animals gets a red food token, the other one can take a blue immediately. And the way you pair a couple of creatures is you just put the card between them, and until one of them is killed, these guys will stay in sync. At the very end of the game, each player does a simple tally to see how many points they have from their surviving creatures. The way it works is you get 2 points for each of your base creatures, so 2, 4. You get 1 point for each trait card, so 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you also get a bonus for each plus, so this would be 11, 12.
So, Evolution was actually quite a big surprise for me. I really liked it from the get-go. Now, the first game actually played kind of slowly as you're trying to learn what all the cards do, but once you got that, the game actually plays really fast. I originally played this game just with my girlfriend as a two-player game a number of times, and we really liked it. It was neat actually, because a couple days after we had last played, my girlfriend just out of the blue said, "Hey, let's play Evolution," and I'm like, "All right, let's go." So it was quite the treat that, you know, she likes it just as much as I do. And she even arranged a game night recently so that we could try out the 4-player game. And it's actually, I'd say, a slightly better game with 4 players. The problem in the 2-player game is it's highly dependent on the cards that you get. And so one player could be totally left out of the cold if they don't get the proper types of cards. In a 4-player game, this is sort of mitigated because you get the sort of a pick on the leader mechanic, where if someone's doing really well, then all the rest of the players just glom onto that one guy. So I really like this game. It's quite a surprise, especially being just a deck of cards, but there's so many meaty decisions to make and just so many different strategies that you can implement. I'm always looking forward to the next game to see what new little tweak I can make to maybe pull out a win. So I really do suggest people check out this game. It's not officially released until Essen this year, but keep an eye out for it. It's a keeper.